implementing organization. Sometimes our research is a bit haphazard, it's not well funded, sometimes we're sort of no baseline coming in at the end and trying to make sense of things. So the IRB really makes us understand what it is that we're trying to do. It gives us a systematic framework to provide that information to them. It makes us really study and think about our work a little bit more closely, and I think that makes us do better work. It also is makes it such that if the research team really sticks to what's in the protocol, we are well served. We are doing what we're supposed to be doing. And then on the challenges side, we feel like when we have 3 IRBs that we're talking to, that's quite redundant. It makes it quite difficult. It really slows down our process. Although you can see here that in Kenya, the US-based IRB approval is taking about 2.5 months. The local IRB is taking about 3 months, but those are sort of the average, where sometimes it's much longer, which is, I wish that Mark were here today because he could tell you about some of the things that they're doing in Kenya to change that. One of the things that they're doing is actually creating their own IRB. So I think that that's an option if you have interest and a lot of time on your hands, because it takes a lot of energy. So I just wanted to provide a little bit of an example about one of the places where we've had trouble with our IRB, where it's been quite difficult. And I think this is very relevant for the gender, for you all, and I hope that you can tell me if this is true. So this project that we've been working on, we were submitting it to the IRB. It's an integrated approach to health services in 4 slums in small urban areas, not Nairobi, some small urban areas. And we're working on family planning, maternal health, HIV, tuberculosis, sexual violence, orphans and vulnerable children. So it brings up the questions of equity and all of that. We did a nice quality assurance sampling methodology, which was quite efficient to get information. The idea was to get information from those in the slums, neighborhood by neighborhood, so that we could really fine-tune our interventions to the people who need it. So it's quite nice. But when we went to the university and we told them about what we were planning, they had a lot of trouble because they couldn't understand what it was we were trying to do in the intervention. We said, we don't know yet because they have to tell us what they want, and then then we'll know. And so that sort of gap in the protocol was quite difficult. We went back and forth and back and forth. So I'm sure that when we talk about things like, I think that Florence, you mentioned the program cycle that has to be responsive to gender principles along the way, that participatory and inclusion is quite a part of gender approaches, and yet for an IRB, certainly one at Hopkins, it's difficult. It's difficult for them to kind of grab onto and really understand. They don't want to say yes, they don't want to prove it unless they really understand what it is. And to make sure that that intervention is the one that's going to have the outcomes that you want. So that's what it is. We did get through with them. So this is my final slide, I think. So I just wanted to leave you with a couple of recommendations. So when it comes to the investigator side, certainly planning adequate time in, everybody knows that, but it's a little easier. We get funded by USAID, I don't know if any of you do, but they want you to get in and, start running. You don't even know what your baseline is, what your instruments are going to be yet, so it's quite, so for planning, accepting that the role of IRBs and work with them, and maybe that's not true for you, but for us it is true. We really do have to accept it, try to figure out how to play together. And to maintain effective and continuous communication, which I think that over the last 2 years has really reaped benefits. They really understand that we're doing that because we sit down with them once a month now. They actually come to our office and we sit and they they now know a little bit better about who we are. In terms of the IRB recommendation, efficiency in reviewing protocols and reducing redundancy, we don't have any. In case any of you are on IRBs, understanding the evolving program, project needs and complexities. Again, I feel like that's sort of our job too. We have to really work with them to try to let them understand what it is that we're doing and how complex it is. They listen. They're there for the right reasons. They just have certain obligations. And then timeliness and consistency of feedback. We often find that we get a review. I'm sure that any of you who work with the IRB, when you get a review back, you make the recommendation, you make the changes, you give it back, and they have a whole new set, or you give it back a whole new set, or they are different. So that's it. That's all that I have.
Thank you very much. Also quite interesting experience. I think that it's not really in the practice of evaluation to have an IRB, and I think it has been an interesting presentation that is not relevant only for evaluation in general, but it can be particularly interesting for gender responsive evaluators, especially as you say when it comes to looking at equality servicing, protecting the participants, etc. So that's very interesting. So we have a half an hour. I think that's a good news because usually we don't have much time to really open up to the discussion. We had just a little bit of a challenge with the group of people just here enjoying their lunch. So perhaps the only things I would like to ask you, especially those here in the first lines, if you're going to talk, you can turn towards the other, maybe stand up so that we can try to hear each other. And I would say, perhaps the three speakers, if you can just come here, it would be easier. So let's open the floor. If you can just briefly introduce yourself, your name, where you work, the country, so that it's also an opportunity for us to get to know each other.
I'm Emily Kabue from the Urban Institute in the U.S. And I just wanted to say that I had a workshop on Tuesday afternoon on human subjects protection in an African context. It complements what you said, but it has more detail on what's actually going on in various African countries, and it might be useful to you. So if you give me your card afterwards, I can send you my slides.
Thank you. Can you just come here? Because I think they're not hearing you. Don't be shy.
Okay.
Just come here and turn.
My name is Etta from Cameroon. I'm a founder and a manager of an NGO, Tab One Support Network. I deal with rural women. So I have a problem. I was trying to evaluate these women. I have about more than 500 women into rural agriculture. They produce potatoes, maize, soya beans, and all what you can find. They produce and sell. So I was trying to evaluate them. And my question to them was, why is it that we have done most everything to educate you, but why is it that you are still very poor? What is happening that you are still poor? So I got several answers. They gave me about 7 points why they were still poor. But there's one that touched me was that they produce and sell. They produce potatoes, beans, and sell. What happens is that when they sell, they have middlemen who come and collect these products. When they are coming, they come with big containers, so that those who don't produce, they come and dupe those who produce, so that the women they produce more, and those who come and buy, they they are rich and those who produce are poor. So in this case, what do I do with the middlemen? Because the point now is the middlemen, and these middlemen are young boys, hefty men, who they come and you see them with their big bucket. The containers are more than what the women can. So the women, because of extreme poverty, they just sell, they produce and sell everything. So that's the problem I have with the women. The women are not they are the producers, but the buyers